Let's fight. Welcome in the ring. Whether you're joining us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, welcome in the ring, folks. Gather round, children. Gather round, gather round. Hope you guys are great. Good to see you. I have a very special guest tonight, a big fighter lady. Ladies and gentlemen, a big fighter we have with us this evening, a heavyweight champion of the world. Yep, an economic champion of the world. And we're privileged to have him with us, folks. But we want you guys to share the live stream. We want you guys to retweet. We want you guys to subscribe to us on YouTube. We're going to do the same. We're going to share the live stream as well, folks. And he is ready to go. We have him in our virtual green room backstage. And guys, we are ready to go. You guys need to do your parts now. Watching for the magic number. And we are good to go, folks. We've had a good day. We trust that you guys have had a good day as well, and that you are ready to go wherever you are. You had a good day. Some of you are still at work. A good evening to each and every one of you. I'm going to give a shout out to a couple of you as we wait to get to that magic number before we bring our guest on. Let me ensure that I share at my end as well. Good to see so many of you. I know some of you are testing the temperature of the program tonight after last evening. You're testing the temperature. Folks, I'm happy to be here with you guys. And sometimes we just have to call things as they are, as we're going to do precisely that this evening, calling the economy as it is. Don't let me fool around, right? Things hard, it's hard, right? That is the reality, and we're going to call things as they are. We're not going to sugarcoat. Folks in the ring, we're going to box off the sugar. Box off the sugar. Give you guys as it is. Share the live stream, and then we're going to come back and get the program on the way. Good to see so many of you. As you guys know, sometimes the old phone pick up fast, sometimes it doesn't. This is one of those evenings where it is the former. You're taking its own sweet time and move along. Good to see all of you guys. Good to see all of you. Give us a share. Give us a retweet. Pay the price of admissions. I'm trying to keep my voice down tonight. I'm trying to stay calm. Take it easy, Cheryl. Take it easy. Take it easy. Pace yourself. Pace yourself. All right. Good to see you guys there. Good to see Sandra Jones, Carla Washington, Rosie Jeff, Caroline, is it Hertzen, GT Black Gold. That's the thing, Sharon. That's the one. GT Black Gold. Donna Joseph, Peter Graham, June Birch. Guys, we're talking economics tonight. We're talking bread and butter issues. So share the live stream for us, and then we're going to come back and we're going to get things going, guys. We're going to get things going. Good to see each and every one of you. Good to see each and every one of you. Good to see you guys out there. And as we wait for us to meet the magic number, we're almost there, almost there, almost there. I'm so excited to talk with my guest this evening. He has been a consistent guest on our program and one we actually like having. Good to see you guys there tonight. Good to see you guys out there doing what you got to do to get to where you need to go. Good to see all of you. Hope you guys made it through the traffic okay. Some of you might be still in traffic. One complaint we keep getting about this show. People say, y'all, you're sending up with data. GT&T, Digicel, let's work something out for the ringsiders. Let's work something out. The guys want to watch, but the data, we got to come better, folks. We got to come better. And we are watching our magic number there. And just as we hit it, we are going to be with you guys. Good to see Oswald Ellis and Marcel Williams. Well, all of the Facebook economists going to come out tonight. There's Smart Felix and Sudan Sahadio watching from Mahika in the house. Good to see you guys out there. Jennifer Daniels, Hannah Rose, Angeli Abrams, Oswald Elias rather. Yep. Sandra Goodluck Semple and Carla Washington. Diana Ramatar. Is this former President Ramatar family in their house? I'm just kidding there. Being facetious. Diana Ramatar and Gavin Hole. Good to see all of you guys, whether you're home here in the diaspora, home here in Guyana, or you're in the diaspora internationally. We are so privileged to have each and every one of you. And guys, we're right where we need to go. So let me welcome my guest this evening. I think he is ready. If he is ready, I am ready as well. And let's get to going, folks. Let's get to going. It's our Flashback Friday, and today our flashback is to the 2021 budget. That is the 2020. The flashback this evening is Flashback Friday. Minister Jordan, Minister Jordan, a very good evening to you. Winston Jordan, sir, how are you doing?
Good night to you, Sherrod, and good night to your viewers. I'm doing well, trying to stay within the COVID confines. I urge all the viewers to do the same, basically.
Excellent. Minister Jordan, have you had your COVID vaccine yet?
I had my 4-shot. My second AstraZeneca is due, I believe, June 17th. So, yeah, I've had the 4-shot. I encourage every other person, especially those who are a bit doubtful, to take the shot. Just like how we are not afraid to enter the ring, don't be afraid to take the shot.
I love that. I love that, sir. I love that. Did you have any reactions with any adverse reactions?
None whatsoever. I note, however, that in almost all the cases that have come to my attention with the second shot, that there have been some reactions, so to speak. My latest was my helper who came today, complained that her arm was stiff, she couldn't feel her legs and somewhat. So, and that has been the case with a number of other people who said they've taken the second shot. So I don't know whether the second one is stronger than the first one or not. But I think there's too many gray areas where these are concerned. And I think more information is better than less information or no information. So don't just tell people you're going to feel a little soreness around the place where the shot has been taken and so on. If these are more and more cases where numbness and so on, let people know that these are things that they should expect, how long it would last, and so on. And let it be a constant news flash or public service announcement, rather than a one-shot thing and you're trying to hide it and so on.
Correct. And that is part of why our encouragement has been for people to get all the information that they can, and that will allow them to make an informed decision as to whether they feel comfortable enough to take the vaccine or otherwise. I had my first shot as well. I took the Sputnik. I'm in the Russian category and due for my second shot, just like you, sir. But unlike you, I mean, you are much stronger and you've been in this a long while. I had a few side effects, but that hasn't daunted me. I think the benefits far outweigh those negatives.
I think also the government has to be forthcoming. While we do not know that if there is a direct correlation, there seem to be, as the ramping up of the vaccine is taking place, there seem to be more deaths that are being announced. Now, I'm not attributing any correlation because no study has been done and no modeling has been done. But just purely on anecdotal evidence and so on, deaths are rising, and vaccination, the number of persons vaccinated, the rate at which they are being vaccinated, that is also rising. So why isn't there a correlation, between the two? Why aren't deaths, at least the rate of death slowing as you ramp up vaccination? I mean, there is cause for concern because a lot of people now are doubting whether they should take second shot, whether they should take 4-shot, because they're saying, look, more and more people dying. I think it's 335 today or 337 or something. But in this month alone, where the highest rate of vaccination has occurred, you already, with today being day 14, you already have, I think, 36 deaths for May alone. And you haven't even reached half of the month. So these are troubling, worrying signs, and it is not giving confidence to the vaccination program. Mind you, I've already said up front that take the vaccine. It's not a reason why you shouldn't take the vaccine. But I think we need information, even as much as we need information about variants and all these things. We keep hearing the ministers and them saying, "Oh, we're into the third variant and fourth variant." When was the first variant and when did it end? And what was its name? When did the second variant begin and when did it end? And what was its name? When did this third variant begin and what should we look for, and so on. I mean, we just being, I think in many ways, the Minister of Health and his advice, they are just regurgitating stuff that is in the news, stuff that they pull down from the net, or some such thing,
Yeah.
and they're not giving confidence to the population. You know, don't just keep telling us about third variant and fourth variant and so on. Well, we don't even know when the first variant was. Then you're hearing that the second one more deadly than the fourth, the third one, and there's no studies, there's nothing behind all of these pronouncements. There's absolutely nothing behind these pronouncements. But you just see the deaths are going up, and unfortunately, most of those deaths are occurring in my age group. So you could appreciate how worried I am. You know, and I'm a diabetic, so I'm even more worried where this is concerned. But I don't feel that we are getting information that that will make you feel confident and safe. But I'm trying to do as best as I can to stay away from
Yeah.
virtually anything, you know, and stay in the house all the time and hope for the best.
And with that, Minister Jordan, you know, even the authorities, whether it's PAHO, Dr. Carissa Etienne, whether it's the young man at the Georgetown Public Hospital, who as well has been talking about some of these variants, Dr. Mahendra Karpen, who is the head of the medical services and cardiology at Georgetown Public Hospital, even Ramsamy, who've been talking about these variants, seem to be suggesting, at least Etienne and Karpen, that perhaps a lockdown would be one of those measures to curb it. Ramsamy seemed to want, talking about the variant, yes, but wanting this balance between an open economy, an open system, and trying to curb the pandemic all at the same time. I didn't intend to start a discussion here, but as we're on the subject matter, Minister Jordan, you, when this budget was read in February into March of this year, budget 2021, you again said what you said when the 2020 PPP budget was read, that you expected that they would have had a more expansive view of COVID measures and a package, I think is how you would have coined it, where COVID is concerned, but they seem to have given scant and very sparse regard to COVID in the budget. And I think it has come back to haunt us in what we're seeing currently.
Yes, and you know, I'm happy that you raised that point, because it seems, you know, it brings you back to the reality, which says that this government, temporary, whatever it is, seems unwilling to be a national government. You know, we're not begging for anything. We are citizens of this country. We have put up our hands and said we are willing to contribute because this is a national crisis. It's a pandemic. Okay? But still, you have in this situation where a significant number of people, large swath of the population, are being excluded from the overall policy making, national policy making. I said it up front because I saw the budget was being skewed towards business. I don't know whether was there a rush to reward those who had their filthy lucre in our elections, but it seems that is what is guiding this government. I don't know that you can have both, because the lockdown that I would be proposing is not a permanent lockdown. It's a targeted strategic lockdown backed by full-scale enforcement of measures. It's also a budget that would target more consumption-oriented expenditure than this rush to develop infrastructure, as if infrastructure is more important than living people. The money that you're spending right now on infrastructure, the infrastructure could be there next 5 years. But look at your debts and your debt rate. And who is going to be enjoying infrastructure? So a significant part of the budget could have been diverted to consumption-oriented expenditure. Expenditure to beef up the enforcement aspect, expenditure to make those vulnerables, give them a 6-month package, or who knows, maybe a 6 months to a year package. Those who have lost their employment, you give them some amount of money over a period of 6 months to a year, and so on. And so they are able to, their demand for consumption goods will rise. That in turn will allow some level of production to take place as you come out of the pandemic, and so forth. So I'm not advocating a complete lockdown. I'm advocating a targeted lockdown backed by rigid enforcement of the measures that you put in place. But as you see, some have friends and many don't have friends. And
Yeah.
government
And I think that is part of the challenge, because I think they went perhaps after infrastructure for two reasons. One, because of their friends. One, because of their friends. And then two, to get the kind of response that we got with a competent minister like David Patterson heading infrastructure, doing massive work in all 10 administrative regions, getting the support from persons like you, the finance minister, to be able to do those works, and getting tremendous kudos from the people. The fact of the matter is, in 2015, there was no COVID.
That's right. That's right. You know, and to me, it's not too late. It is not too late, because all seem to be lost right now, because the government seems to have run out of ideas. Every day you can expect at least 2 deaths. That has been the past scenario over the last 8 weeks at least. You could expect at least 2 deaths. At that rate, you will get a figure of deaths this year that runs into about 550 to 600. 600 Guyanese citizens in a population that is just over 750,000 people would be dying. And a part of the population that is dying are the ones with potentially critical skills, because you're talking that the bulk of the people who have died so far are in the age group 50 to 90. And you would expect those people to have some level of experience, some level of education perhaps, and so forth. So you don't have skills, and a number of your skills, and this is just COVID you're talking, we're not even talking about natural deaths. A number of your skills may be dying. Meanwhile, you're focusing head on into infrastructure. Infrastructure is important, but at this time, the emphasis should be on COVID infrastructure. Bringing in more ambulances, bringing in more PPEs, bringing in more oxygen tanks, masks, and so forth. Perhaps getting an additional COVID hospital, temporary hospital, and so forth. Bringing in other machinery and equipment to assist in this targeted effort. And as you enforce rigidly, then you could gradually come out of the pandemic. There's absolutely no way that no matter what you vaccinate people, there's absolutely no way we're going to be out of this pandemic anytime soon if we continue to do business as usual while we thinking that we're getting a handle on the pandemic. We are only fooling ourselves to thinking that when you vaccinated, you are vaccinated against COVID. Everybody has indicated, notwithstanding what CDC has said recently, that the COVID vaccine is not a vaccine so that you don't get COVID. It is a vaccine that says that if you get the COVID, you will not experience the kind of illnesses and so forth, or the severity of those illnesses, as if you didn't get the vaccine. And I think we should stop giving the impression that the vaccine is a cure-all. It is not a cure-all.
I think that was the impression they have given and are given. And if we can learn one thing from the Indian experience, that India produces a lot of COVID vaccines, but look how they've been overrun by COVID. And so to depend on COVID as the answer to all of the questions that we have would have been foolhardy in any regard.
Absolutely correct, Sherrod. And I think, quite frankly, if they're listening to this program, which I am sure they are doing, or the trolls must be listening and report back to them, it is whatever you're doing is not working. It's not Winston Jordan is saying that. It's that the scenario right in front of you is saying that. And I don't know how you can be comfortable in saying every single day at least 2 persons in a small country in terms of population size is dying. Nowhere near what is happening in the entire Caribbean. In Trinidad, there are 200 and I think the last thing was 203 or 205 deaths in a population of 1.2 or 1.3 million.
Yeah. And Minister Jordan, I should inform our viewers that when you stepped aside as finance minister, August 2nd, there were 21 deaths. There were 21 deaths. We're well over 300 now, and there were 474 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Now we're 13,000 and beyond.
No, you're nearly 15,000.
Yeah.
The number I looked at today is 14,865. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're nearly 15,000.
So even if as they wanted to say that testing wasn't being done large scale, okay, you've improved testing according to you, but then what is responsible for the deaths? Exactly. How do you take ownership for that?
Exactly. And I think this is an area which I think short of any other evidence, I think is one which just give up and says that, look, this rate of death we can live with, kind of. I think that is what is happening, because you don't see any measure that is being put out there to stop this large scale. I would consider it to be a large scale relative to our population death. And even as some countries are seeing the benefits of their measures, we in Guyana, we are not nowhere near seeing the benefits of any measure that we put in place. And in fact, it's becoming scary because critical areas like Region 6, which is responsible largely for agriculture, Region 9, which you hear now is in the throes of this COVID, Masinero and all these different places are recording cases at least higher than they did maybe a month or two ago. That is where I'm keep saying we don't seem to be able to manage this this COVID pandemic, and it looks like we are going to be here while others may come out. We are going to be here for the very long haul.
And it's interesting that you should be talking about those lockdowns, because we have seen the newspaper reports where the Tushos in the various outlying hinterland regions are talking lockdown, but then we see conversely. I saw a report that says, Ali says that we're open for business. Guyana is open for business. So it's kind of bizarre.
Exactly, it is bizarre. I mean, it is as bizarre as you come. Look, Guyana is open for business, but right now we're closed for business. Right now, we should be thinking about saving our citizens. We should be thinking about saving our citizens. It is not inconsistent with the fact that we're open for business, but right now we should be looking after our citizens. And then as soon as we come out of the pandemic, as we come out even with other countries, we can be ramp up our opening for business. Again, I maintain the spending in the budget is all wrong. All wrong.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because as we flash back to the 2021 budget that was passed in early March of this year, one of the consistent things that Ashley Singh kept rehearsing is economic dynamism. But as we go from village to village, community to community, people are saying things are hard, we're struggling. What is responsible for the failure of the PPP's budget, in your estimation?
Well, exactly what I said. The budget is a budget that focuses on infrastructure, not people. It is focused on giving back to the private sector what they might have put in, or parts of what they might have put in financing the elections in favor of their particular party. Monies have not gone to the poorer people. All this story about VAT, you hear the government jumping up that they have taken off taxes that were put there by the coalition and so on and so forth. That might have made good PR, and they might be able to get their private sector people to jump in and said, "Oh, we're feeling less tax. The economy is free of taxes and so on." But anybody who has done a study and don't wish to jump on that bandwagon will notice that the taxes that were taken off were all in favor of the private sector. All in favor of the private sector.
Correct is right.
Goods that are bought by the small man, the average consumer, the low budget consumer, the consumers at minimum wage, and so on. Almost all of those goods, if not all of those goods, were already VAT free. Were already VAT free. Let your public know this. They were already VAT free. When the government jumps in and says, we take off the VAT off of flour, you go and check and see. The flour that they might have taken off the VAT is what you call exotic flours. FLOURS. Exotic. Meaning that the average man who's on $70,000, $80,000 and so on, don't buy exotic flours. And when you take off VAT from imported foods that the small man don't buy, you're not helping the small man. You're not helping the small man. The VAT already was not on peas, on beans, on rice, on sugar, on chana. All these things were already VAT free. So when you come in here and hollering how you take off VAT, how did it help the small man? In fact, you have now caused the small man even more trouble. Even more trouble. Because by taking off the VAT, the income to the government is now reduced. Is now reduced. And so they are not in a position to provide transfers and increases in salaries to those same categories of people. And that is one of the mess that you find yourself in right now.
And we're coming to increase in salaries. We're coming there.
Because even, and the theory that when you take off taxes, it will filter down to consumers, which is tantamount to trickle down, let's say a bastardized version of trickle down economics, don't work in Guyana.
Which is what we heard, Minister. So you're not just stating that. We have seen people who have sent us receipts that say, look, they've talked about taking off VAT off of these construction items or whatever have you, but look, we're still paying VAT in the supermarket.
Well, even if you didn't pay the VAT, Sharon, there is no law that says, and I think the Minister responsible for Finance, bright guy as he is, I think it wasn't his best moment when he was trying to say, well, they've taken off VAT and he wants the GRA to go and make certain that they're not charging VAT. And so, look, even if the government removes VAT, there is no legislation in Guyana that demands that you reduce the prices concomitantly or correspondingly. No law. You got what you call a free market. Free market with a big uplifted comma on the free. Because we don't have any markets that's free here anyhow. But when I charge in a good for $40 and assume that it has in a VAT of $5, there's no law that says I must now charge $35. Once it's a free market, I will continue to charge $40 if the market can bear that price. And I will give you a typical example.
Tell us.
When the coalition government had put on VAT on private education, the fees went up to account for the VAT in most places. Some schools did not carry up the fees by as much, and some schools did not carry up the fees at all. But almost all the schools, their fees in accordance with the increase with the VAT. When we eventually took it off a year afterwards or so, virtually no school reduced fees. In fact, one school that I know of actually increased the fees even further. Increased all the fees even further, and actually when the parents complained, they made them know very clearly they could take the child somewhere else. Why are they able to do this? They are able to do this because the demand for private education outstrips the supply. Outstrips the supply. So there's no incentive of the supplier to reduce the price.
The taste is sweet. That's what we would say.
Because to reduce the price, is to widen the excess demand that we already have. Because when you're paying $40 now, you're excluding a whole set of people. When you reduce to $35 as a result of reduction in price, you have brought in some of the people that you've excluded into the demand. But the supply is not called forth. You worsen the situation. These things about removing VAT and prices will go down and so on operate generally in markets that tend to be relatively free, where you have large numbers of suppliers and so forth. The bastions of capitalism, like United States, yes, it will operate. Typical gas stations, you will see in United States, there are tiny differences in prices. But you were not going to run for the price because you have to maybe travel long distances for it. But right here in Guyana, when you reduce, when the price of gasoline reduces, because you have Guy oil, they will reduce the price. And that forces the other competitors, the other 3 or 4 competitors that we have here, to also reduce their price to maintain the market share. But we don't seem to understand these kinds of economics.
Yeah.
What the government of the coalition was doing was to apply the VAT selectively, making certain that critical goods that are bought by the small man, the man at the minimum wage and so on, did not have VAT. And I call a number of the items there that didn't contain VAT. These are in any basket of goods of the small man, the sugar and the rice and the flour and the peas and so on. Those are all in that basket there. So we made certain that there was no VAT there. And we put VAT where we can collect the greatest tax without incurring the wrath of the citizens, the average citizen. And that is like tobacco, alcohol, cars, high-end cars, medium to high-end cars, and so on. That is where our revenues came from. And we gave back what we collected to our people. That is why we were able to increase salary, unheard of increases in salary in such a short space of time.
And every year, every year.
The last time the nurses look anywhere I go, nurses just pat me. The last time they get a substantial major increase in their allowances was in 2019.
Yeah.
Over $950 million in allowances went to the health sector. Never before.
Minister Jordan, and there was no increase for public servants. Many of who are watching us this evening, no increase in the 2020 budget, the PPP 2020 budget, no increase in the 2021 budget, even though the vice president would have come out after the reading of the budget and say that in line item 6141, there's an increase there. More than 2 months later, no increase has been announced. What's happening?
Well, what is happening is that indeed there's that line item. Indeed, there's an amount there. As I indicated elsewhere and perhaps on this program, that line item may be there, but it's a misnomer. A number of things are taken out of that line item, including any new recruit that is recruited into the public service. Mm-hmm. Their salaries, because they haven't been budgeted for, their salaries come out of that same head. Any other increases come out of that head. The proposed bonus for the discipline services is in that head. We tend to, around September, increase employment of nurses, doctors, and teachers when they're now graduating. And so all that, their salaries and so on, have to be paid from that head, right? People who have vacation allowance that wasn't catered for, all of that. So you have to subtract a sizable sum before you arrive at what is available for payment of wages and salaries. That is why when people try to make and say, well, listen, we got 9 billion there, our wage bill is 100 billion, therefore salary increase should be about 9, 8, 9, 10% this year, and you end up getting 3, 4, or 5%. It's because all those other things have to come out. And I was trying to get, but I haven't got it, but I am almost sure the $200 million that Jackson
Gaisuko.
promised to Gaisuko came out of that same money.
Because I was coming to ask you, I
But,
couldn't remember us agreeing at the parliamentary level for that money for Gaisuko. So where did it come from?
right. So that money came from that head. And again, as I said, some level of interrogation next time you reach into Parliament will tell you where that money came from. I'm almost sure it came from exactly that same head, because in the past, that is what had happened. But the reality is that is wrong. That is wrong simply because the money that is voted there was voted for the public service and what you call the other public sector. Those semi-autonomous agencies like GRA and so forth, the Georgetown Public Hospital, those monies are voted for them, and the regular public service with the ministries and the departments and the GDF and so on. That is what is in there. Not for public corporation. If they're required to give the public corporation 200 million, they would have had to transfer to Gaisuko via the Ministry of Agriculture an addition to the subvention that they have there for them of 200 million. That would have been the correct procedure, to rather than taking 200 million from a head that doesn't involve public corporations.
Yep, yep. And early on you talked about Guy Oil and some of the what we're seeing there at Guy Oil. Yog Mahadio, who is the chairman of Chronicle Board, among other things, the state newspaper, said just a day ago on social media. I want to quote what he said. He says, "Reduce fuel prices now. Reduce it by reducing government taxes on fuel. Let us not be fooled by the PR campaign of a comparison of fuel prices with the USA or elsewhere. Guyanese work for 200 US per month. How much do they work for per month? This is US. The government taxes on fuel is too high. We are the taxpayers." This is Yog Mahadio.
Well, look, you see, the government is in a bind. The government put itself in that bind. The government has already reduced the fuel tax earlier this year. I think they reduced it from 50, I think it's either 40 or 35. So they've already lost significant income there. They cannot go, they are in a bind. They have already removed all these other taxes. All of these other taxes. Their revenue target was highly inflated, because I made some estimates based on the taxes that had been removed and so forth, and based on projected growth in the non-oil sector for this year and so on. And I estimate that their revenue projection for 2021 is inflated by about $10 billion. Then,
wow.
About 10 billion, yes, I'm telling you, it could be even more. Then they went and they reduced the fuel taxes earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Correct.
there's additional loss. That's additional loss. So the clamor now for further reductions in the fuel taxes will not necessarily get a response in a hurry, because it will mean further erosion of the tax base. Further erosion of the tax base. And in the first 5 months, that is why you can't hear anything from the government. In the first 5 months, with the exception of April, when income tax and other taxes are due, and when the GRA did a credible job of collecting, they said $1 billion over budget, they have not been able to collect the taxes that budgeted for previously. It's simply because the targets were too high for those. And the windfall that they got for April is more an aberration. It would not continue. It's more an aberration, and I project it's because last year there wasn't a hard and fast rule to submit your income tax returns in April, and I think they pushed it to July, and then I think
to
September.
Another COVID measure.
As another COVID measure. So essentially, what you would have seen in April is taxes perhaps that were due in 2020 now being collected in 2021. So we don't know, because you don't see any reporting coming out of the government. The first quarter is gone.
Which again, I was coming to that. Where is the first quarter report? Have you seen it? I know you track these things.
I went to the Bank of Guyana website just before I came on this program to make certain that what I was hearing wasn't true. It is not. It is not there. It is not there. And in fact, Bank of Guyana only has a statistical abstract. It doesn't have. It has its regular information that has to do with banking information, commercial banking information, and Bank of Guyana information. But it has nothing, no information on the economy.
Mhm.
What I was able to take from whatever they have there, though, was that there has been a sharp reduction in the reserves, of the central bank for the first quarter by about 70 million US dollars. So the reserves have declined by about 70 million US dollars, and it's perhaps impacting because of the spending that is being done by the government. Really, because consumers don't have much money, and so their spending is next to nothing. So it's obviously the government who's the biggest player right now in this economy.
Wow. And talking about some of the effects that are being felt, this is what I saw on Facebook. I'm going to quote it. This is one Javid Khan, who said quite recently, and we discussed this on our program before, East Kanji hire car taxi drivers protesting for an increase in fares. Current fare stands at $100. They're asking for the new fares to be set at $160 for short drops and $200 to go into town. This is New Amsterdam. Lakshmi Singh, in a comment responding to that, says, so what the PPP government is doing, the cost of everything going up. People have kids to take care of. The government needs to be looking into this matter. Somebody who responds to that says, this is ridiculous.
My brother, it just got to show that the test of a man is not how well he does when times are good, but it's how well he does in times of challenges and so on. I might have been quoting or bastardizing a quote either from Martin Luther King or one of those. But essentially what it is now, the test of this government is how they handle this economy under these circumstances here. We had our tests. And we handled the economy. We handled the economy. At no time in our 5 years did people complain about prices as they are complaining today. At no time. No time.
Correct.
That is the difference between prudent management and this wishy-washy thing that you're having going on in the economy. My brother, every single thing has gone up. I went today to wash my car. The price has gone up 40%. I said, no, man.
Wow.
The man said, I'd pay 25% increase.
Wow.
40% it had gone up. No, yes, 40%. It had gone up. He said, I'd pay. So what you have in here, you have genuine price increases because of a number of factors, some of them international factors. You have, and we do a lot, our imports are heavy, so we are importing all the international inflation together with whatever inflation is being generated locally. So there are genuine reasons for increases, but people are also taking advantage of the situation, what we call price gouging.
Yeah.
And price gouging is a situation where people are exactly what I said, taking advantage of a situation and charging a price way above what is considered to be a fair price. And this usually tends to happen in situations where you have natural disaster. And as you know, we have a natural disaster going on right now in the form of a pandemic. So
government.
a number of people are taking advantage of it. I mean, you take rice, for example. Rice is grown here. What will be the reason? And there's no shortage of rice. As far as we know, there was a boom in rice last year, and there's expected to be an even bigger crop this year. So what will be the basis for the sharp increase in rice prices? What will be the basis? And then you have it's grown right here. Well, you know what will be the basis of the increase in prices anyhow. But you have all of these different increases. So price gouging is operating a lot in where you see this. And then there's another very other negative aspect called price discrimination. And I was listening to one of your fellow social media commentators, I think it's Gavin Matthews or something like that, is his name. And he was relating an experience that he had in border market,
Tell us.
where he went to a certain um, vendor, and the vendor told him $2,000 for the particular item. And he knows it wasn't $2,000 because the 2 weeks before when he bought it, it was something like $1,500. But the vendor kept telling him 2,000. So he said he didn't want it. And he got his Indian friend, and he gave the Indian friend $2,500 to go to the vendor to buy the item. And he said his Indian friend got the item and brought back $1,000 change.
Oh, wow.
You can go to a show and you will see. I'm not
Wow.
making. So the item effectively is $1,500 for sale, but it's $1,500 to a certain kind of person. Now, I'm not imputing any. Don't want anybody run wrong here, how you know the thing and so on. But I was known to be into those markets before I became a minister, and for a good year and a half after I became a minister, I was going to the markets every Thursday and Wednesday. And before I became a minister, I had experiences of what Mr. Matthews is saying. And in relating this to several other people, they said they had the same experience. I don't know how widespread is this, but to the extent that it's now showing its ugly face, especially after March the 2nd last year, when we seem to have destroyed our race relations in this country.
Which Minister Jordan is some of what businessman Terence Campbell spoke about at the banking level. He says there are different interest rates based on the color of your skin in this country.
Exactly. No, I don't know how widespread this is, but if it's something that is widespread, I hope it's not widespread. But even if it's not widespread, for so many people to be relating similar experiences, it's not a nice thing to happen, and it will have repercussions, to be quite honest. Because when you go buy something, you don't consider that you're being robbed, or you're being taken advantage of, or you're being discriminated against based on your race. Based on your race, you don't want to feel so. But if this now is a new dimension in shopping,
yeah,
I don't think it bodes well for our future. So to those practicing this, I would suggest we all got to live. We all got to live, and if it continues, then you will see a new dimension in shopping that will result in considerable loss of sales for your business.
Yeah. Well said, Mr. Jordan. I want to take you some of what we pulled out of Budget 2021, which was a reflection of your stewardship of the economy, and get a sense from you whether we can look forward to seeing any of this perhaps over the next year, where it concerns the PPP stewardship of the economy. This was for instance, the agriculture, forestry, fishing, and fishing sector. That this is from, again, the budget that Ashley Singh presented to the National Assembly. These aren't our numbers. The agriculture, fishing, and forestry sector would have grown by 4.1%. And they have said an improved position, largely on account of growth in the rice and other crops and livestock industries. Do we intend to see any of this over the next year, perhaps?
Well, Sharon, I would hope so, because I mean, quite frankly, as I said, this is our country, and we don't want to wish bad for it. The more the country grows, hopefully, the better we will be. You know, but I believe that Dr. Singh has not carefully assessed the pandemic and its impact internationally, and how that international how those international forces will impact on this economy. The pandemic, the projections were for this pandemic to be out of its way by now. In
Correct.
reality, it's prolonged. It is prolonged, and even the IMF and so on are now again tempering their outlook and their projections and so forth. And those should have been reflected in our numbers. When you're hearing that IMF has revised our growth higher, it's only because of oil. They're ramping up oil production. They're ramping up
And there are
oil.
challenges even there.
Huh?
And there are challenges even there that because of time, I didn't even have a chance to discuss the flaring and all of that, and the negative impacts.
Correct. If they did a half-year review, they will have to revise downwards those projections simply because until they can get back their whatever you call it in place, they cannot go up to 120. They will have to be middling around that 100. And the projections that Ashley Singh would have made and IMF would have made at the time when they did the budget would have presupposed a 120. Because at that time, even the Exxon had ramped up to above 120. So that will affect the growth if they cannot realize those levels of production. The non-oil growth, I always felt that was over-projected. It was over-projected. Again, it did not take account of the pandemic, right? It's assumed that we were operating in a normal situation, or that last year was due to maybe some natural disaster, maybe say a flood or something that we were able to get rid of in the next year and have that kind of recovery that he was talking about.
Uh-huh.
But again, he didn't project for the pandemic not only to not be finished by now, but to be worse at this particular stage than last year. And those impacts are not felt in the numbers that he has projected. He has over-projected as far as I'm concerned in those areas. You hear sugar talking about the shortfall already. We're not sure. Rice has always done well, but we don't know if it's going to do better than last year, given some of the problems that it had with dams, weather, prices, and all this kind of thing. In the other crops areas, we don't know what is happening there. In the services areas, people are still on pandemic type, even though they're telling people to come back to work and so on. They may very well have to send home people again because what is going on. You wake up every day, you hear sugar workers got in COVID now, NIS workers got COVID, and then there are a number of places that have COVID that they're not saying. They're keeping it quiet, right? The banks have reduced the working time that they work with the public, some of the banks, by an hour, and you may see more and more of this going on. You may see a reversion again to this, to people stay at home, people work from home kind of story.
Yeah.
So all of that has to be put into the mix to come up with a realistic projection of what we see down the road. And don't forget, any reduction, any cutback or any pullback in the growth rate will have knock-on effects in other areas, particularly in the public finances area.
Mr. Jordan, take a look at this. This was what they said happened, in 2020. This is regard to electricity supply, because lots of people are crying out in this particular area now. They said they've never seen so much blackout before, right? And, they said to us that in 2020, the supply of electricity is estimated to have grown by 1.2%. I mean, PPP comes in, they're now talking, they say, all the equipment old, but then people come to this same old equipment, they're giving we more electricity. Y'all coming out claiming y'all bring big new generator and this and that, but there's more blackouts.
Well, I don't know that they bring any new generator because as you well know, there was a lot of noise about the Warsailor sets that we, for the 6.5 megawatts of new power. You see, you have to give people like David Patterson and them credit, and Mr. Gordon, who used to be the CEO at GPL a lot of credit. They came several times to the cabinet and they laid out the troubles that we could expect from GPL if we didn't move swiftly, because some equipment there were 20 years, 15 years, 25 years, and they were on their last leg. And at any time, you could have some of the as much as 20 megawatts could have gone out to the system. And I could tell you, if that happened, then we were going to be back to 1970s type blackouts that we have in those days. So we moved with alacrity, notwithstanding the chaotic situation that we were in as it related to elections and elections outcomes and so on. We moved with alacrity because we knew that this was a critical area for consumers,
of course,
industrialists and so on. And those sets should have been in the GPL system by now, had it not been for the pandemic, because decisions were made on those for 6.5 megawatts before the pandemic. And there were delivery times that said that those sets should have arrived they should have arrived, I think, by the end of 2020 or something like that. But then when the pandemic hit, the manufacturer says, look, they are bringing forward the schedule, I think, to July or August of last year. And therefore, we were left with a situation of finding the money to pay them. And also, it would have revised the schedule of getting the base on which these sets would sit.
Yeah.
So when some minister whose name is synonymous with whatever, the biceps without base and all this kind of thing, there was a set agenda. This is not new to GPL. GPL knows what they're doing. They know when the sets are going to arrive. They know when they have to start tendering to do the base and everything, so that when the sets arrive and so on, there'll be a base to sit on it.
But cooking with gas.
And these sets have to come earlier than that what had been budgeted. They had to sit down waiting while the sets were built.
Yeah.
You know, but now they have 46.5 megawatts of power that eventually will get into the system. But meanwhile, the system is creaking, aging, and so forth. And so you have what you get here. This doesn't seem to end well. And I figure out, hopefully by the end of the year, when they put in the 6.5 megawatts, that the supply would improve. But let's hold our breath.
Very well. Minister Jordan, in the remaining time that we have, you've been spot on so far in terms of your prediction of what this budget was supposed to do. What can Guyanese expect? What do we brace ourselves for until we get to the next budget?
I would say to Guyanese this: they could probably be saved by events. If these prices continue to spiral, the government will be forced, without any upheaval by consumers, to react swiftly. And hopefully you'll get some relief. They may also, at that same time, be forced to pay some level of interim increases, because it's going to be realized that the public servants and other public sector will not be able to continue in the circumstance that they are doing right now. Beyond that, the government will be staring down at a very bleak reaction from the consumers, or they're going to be a high level of disorder that has happened with the case of the Borbis people unilaterally increasing their prices, and others will follow suit. The Georgetown Minibus Association, they also are going to probably start raising their prices, which will have a knock-on effect on transportation. And transportation is a big part of the budget of many public servants and workers. And since they have to go back to work and not staying at home, that is going to be a major issue. So I think the government is going to come under severe pressure, and in a situation where their revenues are not coming in as they like, we may very well be looking at a budget deficit that is even larger than the one that was projected at the time of the budget. And don't forget, the budget that was projected in 2021 was $109 billion, the largest budget in the history, the largest budget, the largest deficit by far in the history of Guyana. The largest deficit by far in the history of Guyana, and that deficit may widen because of the combination of factors that I have indicated to you. There is not much positive on the horizon. Gold may hold its own. Rice may come through or maintain its level last year. Sugar is a dead duck. Other crops, we may have some positive there, but even in those situations, you can see even in the other crops, greens are going up heavily in the markets, and so the supply of those greens and so on may not call for even the prices that we should be paying, because the inputs will have gone up, fertilizer and so on, and transportation and so on would have gone up.
It's a seller's market. It's a seller's market.
If I were to suggest to consumers, as they continue to pressure the government for other reliefs, that I would suggest that I'm going to say they're not engaged in panic buying, but because they don't have money to panic buy. But I suggest that they prudently look at their budget and cut out wasteful things or things that are not necessary for their day-to-day activity. It may well mean that you got to cut out some ice cream.
Go for your needs and not your wants.
No, just right. Go for your needs and so on. Shop where they may have sales. Some supermarkets may have pensioners day and coupon day and so on. Shop when they have those and try to buy those up. Don't buy too many things for the fridge, because the blackouts are going to result in high spoilage and so forth. Look at your meats. You don't need meat to survive, but you may very well just need a small amount of meat. In other words, then, what I'm suggesting here is that given that you are operating on 2019's income, but 2021's rising prices, there's not much you can do. And there's a limit to which you can run down your savings, if you still have any. And there's a limit to which you can call Acho, Chacho, or Bauji, or Ronald, or James in Canada or United States, and ask them to send a little freck, because they themselves are also under stress where that is concerned. Many of them would have lost their jobs. They existed on the Biden and Trump's little package that they gave out, but that soon done, and they're still at home. I know a number of my friends have lost their jobs, and one or two of them are working from home, but they don't know how long they will be able to do that in terms of they keeping their jobs. So we have to survive. Survive. Like I said, we all have to play a part in it. But I think with a better handling of the economy by the government, we should have been in a better position.
Minister Winston Jordan, former Minister of Finance, on behalf of the Guyanese people, we miss you, sir. We miss you. Thanks for great head. Thanks for coming by and spending this time with us, and thanks for your insightfulness. As per normal, giving us a lot of context to what we see happening and what we feel happening as well. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there for this evening. Thanks again, sir.
Thank you very much, and thanks to your viewers. Stay safe. Have a good night.
Great. Guys, again, former Minister of Finance, Minister Winston Jordan, and our privilege having him on this Flashback Friday as we look back on the 2021 budget and all its promises that have fallen flat. They promise economic dynamism, and guys, you're feeling it. You know, the trenches know. I'm going to try to persuade you things brown and bleak and nothing doing in your pocket. You're feeling it because y'all are telling us. That being said, folks, continue to social distance, continue to wear your mask, continue to sanitize. There are COVID protocols out there that we should be following. Guys, come on. Come on. Follow the protocols. Whether you are the clerk in the store or you are the biggest businessman in the country, follow the COVID protocols. And that being said, guys, we say have a great weekend, and we're going to see you back on Monday, God willing. See you guys on Monday. Stay safe.